The stadium lights cut through the night air like sharp blades, illuminating a single bar suspended impossibly high above the track. Silence falls over the crowd, broken only by the distant hum of anticipation and the rhythmic breath of an athlete standing alone at the end of her run-up. In this moment, there is no noise of the world, no weight of expectation, only gravity, fear, and the thin margin between flight and failure. This is where legends are born. This is where Heike Schulte made history. Her story is not one of effortless dominance or predestined greatness. It is a story shaped by discipline, by relentless repetition, by the quiet courage to face failure hundreds of times in pursuit of one perfect jump. Long before Olympic gold and world records, before packed stadiums and global recognition, she was simply a young girl discovering how it felt to leave the ground, to defy weight and doubt for a fraction of a second. Each jump became a question asked of the body and answered by the mind. How high can you go? In an era defined by political division, sporting pressure, and the unforgiving precision of elite athletics, Heike Schulte rose to the very summit of her discipline. She would come to dominate the women's high jump during one of the most competitive periods the event had ever known, redefining consistency, technical mastery, and mental strength. Her journey would include world titles, Olympic glory, European dominance, and records that stood as symbols of human possibility. Yet it would also be marked by injury, frustration, and the constant battle to keep the body intact while pushing it to its absolute limits. This is a story of transformation from promise to power, from contender to champion. It is a story shaped by trust between athlete and coach, by the discipline of daily training, and by the lonely resolve required to return after disappointment. It is about how success is built not in the moment of triumph, but in thousands of unseen repetitions that precede it. And it is about what remains when the bar is finally lowered for the last time. Born on May 5, 1964, in Kiel, in what was then West Germany, Heike Schulte grew up far from the glamour of international sport. She was raised in a country rebuilding its identity, where athletics offered structure, opportunity, and a pathway to excellence. From an early age, she displayed an unusual combination of coordination, strength, and focus qualities that would later define her career. Like many young athletes, she experimented with multiple disciplines, learning the foundations of movement, balance, and control before finding the event that would ultimately define her life. Her introduction to athletics was not driven by dreams of Olympic medals, but by curiosity and enjoyment. She gravitated toward jumping events, drawn to the challenge of translating speed and power into vertical lift. Coaches quickly noticed her natural ability to read the bar, her willingness to repeat technical drills, and her calm demeanor even under pressure. These early years laid the groundwork for a career built on methodical progression rather than sudden breakthroughs. As she advanced through youth competitions, Schulte began to separate herself from her peers. She was not the most physically imposing jumper of her generation, but she compensated with exceptional technique and discipline. Each competition became a classroom, each failure a lesson. She learned how to approach the bar with precision, how to adjust her takeoff angle, and how to trust her body in the final moments before leaving the ground. Her development coincided with a period of rapid technical evolution in the high jump. The Fosbury flop had become the standard, demanding not just raw power but spatial awareness and perfect timing. Schulte embraced the complexity of the event, committing herself fully to mastering its demands. Training sessions were defined by repetition, careful analysis, and incremental improvement. There were no shortcuts, only work. By the mid-1980s, she had emerged as a serious contender on the national stage. Competing for West Germany, she steadily improved her personal bests and gained valuable experience against Europe's strongest athletes. Each international appearance sharpened her competitive instincts, teaching her how to manage nerves, adapt to different environments, and perform under pressure. The turning point in her career came not through a single spectacular result, but through sustained excellence. She began to clear heights with remarkable consistency, earning respect not only for her results but for her reliability. In a discipline where margins are measured in centimeters, consistency is power. It was this quality that would eventually elevate her from contender to champion. As the 1990s approached, the landscape of international athletics was changing. Political borders shifted, new rivals emerged, and the level of competition intensified. For Schulte, now competing under her married name, Heike Henkel, this year would define her legacy. She entered her physical prime with a refined technique, a disciplined training routine, and a growing belief in her ability to win on the biggest stages. Her breakthrough on the global stage came at the 1991 World Championships in Tokyo. Facing the world's best, Henkel delivered a performance defined by control and confidence. She cleared each height with authority, refusing to be rushed or intimidated by the moment. When the competition ended, she stood atop the podium as world champion, a title that confirmed her arrival among the sport's elite. That victory was not an endpoint, but a beginning. It fueled her ambition and sharpened her focus. Training intensified, expectations rose, and the pressure to repeat success grew heavier. Yet Henkel thrived in this environment, approaching each season with the same disciplined mindset that had carried her from obscurity to global recognition. In 1992, the Olympic Games in Barcelona represented the ultimate test. The Olympic final is unlike any other competition, emotionally charged, unforgiving, and watched by the entire world. For Henkel, it was the culmination of years of preparation. She approached the competition with quiet confidence, executing her jumps with precision and composure. One by one, her rivals fell away, the bar rose, the field narrowed, and Henkel remained. When she cleared the winning height, she secured Olympic gold, cementing her status as the dominant high jumper of her generation. The moment was not defined by exuberance, but by a deep sense of fulfillment. It was the reward for years of unseen work. Olympic success brought new challenges. Fame increased, scrutiny intensified, and the physical toll of elite competition became more apparent. Injuries began to test her resilience, forcing periods of recovery and adaptation. Yet even as her body showed signs of strain, her determination remained intact. She adjusted her training, listened carefully to medical advice, and refused to compromise her long-term health for short-term results. Despite these challenges, Henkel continued to perform at the highest level. She captured multiple European titles, reinforcing her dominance on the continental stage. Her performances were marked by technical excellence and mental toughness, qualities that made her a formidable competitor regardless of conditions. One of the defining moments of her career came in 1992 when she cleared 2.07 meters, setting a world record. The jump was a perfect synthesis of speed, timing, and courage, a moment where preparation and opportunity aligned. That height placed her among the greatest high jumpers in history, a benchmark that would stand for years. As the seasons progressed, Henkel faced the inevitable reality of an athlete's career. The body's limits cannot be ignored forever. Injuries became more frequent, recovery slower. Each competition required careful calculation: how much to push, how much to protect. Yet even in these later years, she remained competitive, driven by pride in her craft and respect for the sport. Her final years in competition were defined not by decline, but by dignity. She chose her moments carefully, competing when ready and stepping back when necessary. When she eventually retired from elite competition, she did so on her own terms, having achieved everything she had set out to accomplish. After leaving competitive athletics, Henkel transitioned into new roles within sport and public life. She remained connected to athletics through commentary, public appearances, and engagement with sporting organizations. Her experience, insight, and credibility made her a respected voice in discussions about elite performance, training, and athlete welfare. Her legacy is not confined to medals or records. It lives in the standards she set for professionalism, in the example she offered to young athletes, learning that greatness is built slowly, deliberately, and honestly. She showed that excellence does not require spectacle, only commitment. Heike Henkel's story is one of elevation in every sense of the word. From a young girl discovering the joy of jumping to an Olympic champion redefining the limits of her discipline, her journey reminds us that the highest heights are reached not by chance, but by choice made daily, in training, in competition, and in character. The later years of Heike Henkel's competitive life unfolded with a clarity that only experience can bring. By the mid-1990s, she was no longer chasing validation or recognition. She was protecting standards she had helped define. Every appearance carried weight, not because she needed to prove herself, but because excellence had become her normal. Opponents no longer measured themselves only against the bar, they measured themselves against her. Training during this phase became an exercise in precision rather than volume. Henkel and her coaching team adjusted workloads carefully, aware that longevity now depended on balance. Sessions focused on technical refinement, controlled strength work, and meticulous recovery. She listened closely to her body, understanding that wisdom was now as important as ambition. This was not a retreat from intensity, but a smarter application of it. Competition remained fierce. Younger athletes arrived with fresh legs and fearless confidence, pushing the event forward. Henkel responded not with desperation, but with composure. She relied on her rhythm, her approach, and the mental calm built over decades. In major championships, she continued to perform with remarkable reliability, often producing her best jumps when the stakes were highest. Her presence alone changed the atmosphere of finals. When Henkel stood at the start of her run-up, the stadium seemed to settle. There was an unspoken understanding among spectators and competitors alike. This was someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Each step was deliberate, each takeoff precise, each clearance a statement of mastery rather than force. European championships became familiar ground. Henkel collected continental titles with the same professionalism that had defined her global success. These victories were not treated as routine, but they were handled with quiet confidence. She understood that dominance is maintained not by dramatic peaks, but by relentless consistency. Yet even the most disciplined careers are tested by the body's limits. Injuries began to interrupt seasons more frequently. There were moments when training was replaced by rehabilitation, when competition schedules were altered or abandoned altogether. These periods demanded patience, perhaps the hardest skill for an elite athlete to master. Henkel faced them without denial, trusting the process that had always guided her. What set her apart during these challenges was her refusal to dramatize them. Setbacks were addressed calmly, methodically. There was no public complaint, no visible frustration. Instead, she focused on what could be controlled: recovery, technique, preparation. This mindset allowed her to return to competition with dignity, even when peak form was no longer guaranteed. As retirement approached, the decision was not forced by failure, but shaped by realism. Henkel recognized that she had achieved everything possible within her discipline. Olympic gold, world championships, European dominance, and a world record stood as undeniable markers of a complete career. Continuing beyond that point would mean compromising the very standards she valued most. When she stepped away from elite competition, it was with the respect of the athletics world and the quiet satisfaction of someone who had left nothing unfinished. There was no farewell spectacle, no dramatic exit. Just a natural transition from one phase of life to the next. Life after competition opened new paths. Henkel remained closely connected to sport, contributing her experience as a commentator and public figure. Her insights were shaped not by theory, but by lived reality, by years spent understanding the demands placed on elite athletes. She spoke with authority on training, performance, and the mental resilience required to succeed at the highest level. Beyond media and public appearances, she became an important presence in discussions surrounding athlete welfare and the long-term health of competitors. Having experienced the physical demands of elite sport firsthand, she advocated for smarter training methods and greater awareness of injury prevention. Her voice carried credibility because it was rooted in example rather than opinion. Away from stadiums and cameras, Henkel embraced a life defined by balance. The discipline that once structured every hour of her day now supported a broader sense of well-being. Sport had shaped her character, but it no longer defined her identity entirely. This transition, often difficult for retired athletes, was navigated with the same clarity that had guided her competitive career. Her legacy within athletics is profound. She is remembered not only for heights cleared or medals won, but for how she competed. She demonstrated that excellence can be quiet, that dominance does not require arrogance, and that true strength is often expressed through restraint. For young high jumpers, her career remains a blueprint, proof that patience, technique, and mental discipline can elevate an athlete to historic levels. The world record jump of 2.07 meters remains a symbol of what is possible when preparation meets courage. It is replayed not as a relic of the past, but as a reminder of human potential. Each time a new generation approaches the bar, Henkel's name lingers in the conversation not as pressure, but as inspiration. Her story also reflects a broader truth about sport itself. Careers are finite, but influence endures. The lessons learned through competition, resilience, focus, humility extend far beyond the arena. Henkel carried those lessons with her into life after sport, proving that greatness does not disappear when competition ends. It simply takes a different form. In remembering Heike Henkel, we remember more than an Olympic champion. We remember an athlete who trusted process over hype, discipline over shortcuts, and integrity over spectacle. Her journey reminds us that the highest achievements are built quietly, jump by jump, decision by decision, long before the world is watching. And perhaps that is the most powerful message her career offers, that success is not a moment, but a commitment sustained over time. Whether on the track, in the stadium, or beyond sport entirely, the principles that lifted her above the bar remain universally relevant. This is the essence of Behind the Medal, not just celebrating victory, but understanding the journey that makes it meaningful. If Heike Henkel's story inspired you, if it reminded you that patience, discipline, and belief can carry you to extraordinary heights, support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with others, and subscribing for more true stories of greatness beyond the podium. This video contains AI-generated images. They are used only for creative illustration and may not represent the athlete's exact appearance.